Okay, so it's a privilege to be here with all of you, and I would like to have it more on a workshop style if possible. It'll be difficult, but if you can try and see what I'm going to share right now and ask questions, it'll be more interesting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share a journey of mine from an engineer to a CEO, and I just was asked to do that some time back, and I had to think about what I can share with you which you can relate with. So I also started as a mechanical engineer, and then today I'm the CEO of this company in India, and I'm going to share some learnings of what I saw during this professional and personal journey of mine. So the intent is to share personally what has helped me in this journey to reach where I am today, and professionally how do I relate to the same. So it'll be good. Please feel free to ask questions. Probably I think as per the format we take it at the end. If you want, we can also do it during the session. So I take you through this, and glad to be here with all of you to share with you. So as I said, it's about success, about how you get success and how you measure success for yourself. You have to define that term success for yourself. And I'm going to share what I thought about and how I went about it. First and foremost, from my perspective, on a personal side, what we measure and what we look at is this model which has these three aspects to it. So we are talking of knowledge, skill, and attitude. Okay? So when you are in this institute today, you gain knowledge, you are taught certain subjects, you have not practiced it to this extent, you don't have the exposure, and over time you will gain experience, exposure, and you will attain the skill of taking those decisions, of understanding what affects how. What is the foundation? The foundation is the attitude. Your attitude to learn, your attitude to move ahead, your attitude to be positive, your attitude, willingness to change. So it's all about the attitude. So when we are recruiting people today in an organization, and that's why you need to be flexible today, because obviously there will be people who will be in the organization who are better than you in terms of knowledge, in terms of their skill. So the foundation, what I felt always was that you have to have a great attitude, and you have to work with that attitude. And if you have the attitude, you can acquire the knowledge and you can acquire the skill. But if you do not have the attitude, which is the foundation, then it is very difficult to get to where you are today. So that's the prime focus. And the other aspect on a personal journey is that you need to have a higher purpose. So today when we are sitting here, when I was your age, let us say, everybody thinks about, I want to get into this job. And what do you think about it? You think about how much that job should pay you. What is the end of that journey? And that is a purpose that you define for yourself today. You know where you want to be. I want this job in this organization. If I get this, this is the best for me. You get the passion of the job only when you have a higher purpose. It does not come from smaller objectives. So when I started my career, and over a period of time, so your objectives, your higher purpose also would change, and you also evolve over a period of time. But I used to think, can I be a CEO at the age of 45? It was not about money, it was not about this, it was more about excellence. If I want to do something, I want to create a benchmark. I want to be different. Can I create a benchmark? Can I create something different? Can I be leading something in a different manner, whatever I'm into? And that was the purpose. And I wanted to be a CEO at 45. I became at 47. I was a few years later than what I thought. But I had something in mind. So the question to all of you is, do you have something in mind what you want to achieve? And do you have some higher purpose rather than only a smaller objective? And you can start with it. You will not get clarity when you start your journey as a young graduate engineer. The other aspect, which is very important on a personal journey, is there is a model which we believe is the body, mind, and intellect. And all three are important. So today you see people are very fitness conscious. Okay, so that's good. You look after yourself. If you're not healthy, and especially after an age, we will not be able to perform and we will not be able to think very clearly in our job. And in our job also, today at whatever age you are there, till the last day of when you're working in an organization, the demands are very high, mentally, physically, everything. So you have to look after your body, and which is the physical aspect of it. The second aspect, what you see, is about the mind. So what do you do about your mind? How do you keep it stable? How do you keep it peaceful? How do you keep yourself happy today? Which is very difficult again. So people do different things. So you have to stimulate your mind. People read books, whether it is in a digital form or still in a physical book form. You are upgrading yourself all the time. You are working with yourself and looking at how to be mentally stable, mentally peaceful. And finally, it's the body, mind, and intellect. And the intellect has nothing to do with religion, but it is more spiritual. So when you look at the intellect piece, you always have something in your life which you hold on to very strongly, which takes you forward. So there will be times in your life when the situation will be very, very difficult in your personal lives, can be any time. And the only thing which takes you forward during that time is your spiritual aspect, which keeps you very strong, because you have gone through that through practice. So there are various ways of doing it, but I'm just showing you that do not forget, it is not only the body, it is not only the mental, but also the body, mind, and intellect. All three important, and you will have different phases of life and you will work on each of them. Sometimes your work takes precedence and you do not have time for exercising, keeping yourself fit. There will be times where you will balance it out. But very important that it is not either or. I cannot only work on my physical aspect and I do not grow mentally. I have to grow mentally, I have to take myself forward. In our organization, we ask our people always, that do you know what is happening in the industry today? Are you updated with the trends of the industry? How do you keep yourself updated with the latest? We all today in the organization, if we are not updated, if we are not keeping ourselves up to date, we will be left behind. We will not be able to lead the organizations where we are today, where the change is very, very fast. Everything is changing very fast. Today we are all connected. We are completely, you can see everything online all the time. So it's not about data, it's not about this, it's about how we keep ourselves stimulated, thinking about mentally and spiritually. So like I said, the foundation for us on the personal journey, for me, was always the attitude piece and keeping yourself aware. And this is what I call as self-awareness. I have to be self-aware. I have to know for myself, what am I doing to take myself forward in this journey of body, mind, and intellect? How do I progress? How do I evolve? And there is a stage of evolution. Today, physically, you are at a certain level. How do you take yourself physically to be fitter than where you are today? Similarly, at a mind level, how do you do that? And similarly, at a spiritual level, how you do that? So it is an interesting journey and it is evolution, and it does not happen in one day, but you have to be aware and conscious to the fact. And if you are conscious, what does all this provide you with? If you are healthy, if you are good with your mind, stability, it gives you peace of mind and it gives you clarity of thought. And what do we need today? All of us need to know where I want to go. How will I achieve it? What are the steps? And how do you get that clarity? Only when you have these aspects, when you are learning every time, you're learning every day. And this gives you clarity of thought to define and to chart your own destiny. And that is what I was trying to do during my career. So as you see, I started as a mechanical engineer, went on to do MBA. After that, I started my career in manufacturing. Though I had done management, I was a management graduate, I could have started with something. I did some consulting for a very short time, but then I felt I had to go back to manufacturing, and because I was an engineer. And from doing mechanical engineering, I shifted after a couple of, about 6 years, I shifted to quality. I became a Six Sigma black belt with General Electric. So I started in automobile, went to General Electric. After that, I became head of quality. So I shifted from manufacturing to quality. And when you see the journey further, I would go back to my superior and my boss, and I still tell all the youngsters who come into the organization, if you are not clear about your career, your bosses are never clear about your career. So you have to be clear what you want to do. I would go to my superior, my boss, and say, this is what I want to do after the next 2 years, or this is what I would like to do next. And then when the opportunity came, I used to get it. So I could shift from manufacturing to quality. And the biggest transition I did ever was, I asked my boss one day that I want to do now sales. And this is when he was laughing at me, thinking that, this guy's crazy because he is from a manufacturing background. And I had only done back end, which means quality, manufacturing. I had no idea of commercial. I had no idea of sales that time. But I was very clear that if I do not get this commercial experience, I will never reach where I wanted to reach. So you have to be clear with the end in mind. Your end in mind should be clear where you want to reach. Accordingly, you make your steps. You have to have clarity of thought. And I would go back and ask him. And the day the opportunity was there, fortunately for me, somebody trusted me. And the next most important thing is you have to perform. If you're performing, if you're doing very well in an organization, the organization is willing to take a risk with you. Otherwise, nobody will take the risk. So you have to be performing. People should have confidence and trust in you. And one day I became the head of sales and marketing for the same organization where I was heading quality. After that, of course, like I was telling you, I thought about I have to lead a small organization, because now I know manufacturing, I knew quality, I have worked in these functions mainly, as well as sales and marketing. So can I lead a small organization as a P&L? And that's where I shifted to another organization where I am today, which is WIKA, where I got this opportunity to experiment as a business leader for WIKA, for one unit of WIKA, which was ideal for me because I was not a business leader, I was not handling a big operation. And from there, after another 2 years, I got this opportunity to have the entire India for WIKA, and that's where I am for the last now 8 years with WIKA. So this was a great progression. It was exactly how I wanted it to happen. But like I shared with you, it was all because of personal clarity about what I wanted to do. And very important, what you see here is what we talk in WIKA also today is willingness to change. If you are today thinking that I will do only this, stay in this safe zone because this is what I know, it's very difficult. You have to be willing to experiment with yourself and give yourself that exposure, that opportunity to do something different. And that is what you see. I was confident that I would take a challenge and I will experiment and see what happens. And it is not easy every time. There was one time I remember in my career where the CEO called me and said, can you go to France and shut down the plant in France? I was a very young guy in GE, and they said, shut down the plant in France and shift it to India. I had no experience of shutting down plants. That too in France. I don't know French language. I did not know even the product, which is called the air circuit breaker that time. And I was given 1 week. only 1 week in GE. He told me, go and see this plant in South. It was in Pondicherry. Go and see this air circuit breaker, what it is. I said, okay. And then you fly to France and shut down the plant. And then you transfer everything to India. And then you establish the full plant in India, develop the parts, and we have to export this air circuit breaker back to France. Also, because it was used in nuclear reactors and everywhere. So this air circuit breaker was important. So I thought it was a very difficult challenge. I had no clue. There was a senior team sitting in France, and I got this challenge. But again, like I said, it's important for you to have that confidence in yourself and take the plunge. So I went ahead just to see how it works. It was a very, very tough project. I had to shift. I had to change again a lot in myself to do that activity. I had to shift my base from Delhi to, I was told, you'll be in Bangalore. I said, okay, nice city, we can try that out. So I went to Bangalore, and very soon I realized it will not work because the plant was to be put in Pondicherry. I had to immediately shift my base to Pondicherry. I decided, nobody else decided for me, and I said, I cannot do this back and forth, it will never work, I will fail in this project. You yourself decide over a period of time what will work, not work. Nobody tells you. They made it easy for me to shift me from Delhi to a nice city, Bangalore, but it never worked. I had to stay in a very small place like a Pondicherry that time to set up this project, and I spent a lot of time in France. I had to make connections. Today you're talking of synergy here. I had to really make connections with the French people who knew their plant is going to get shut, who had to transfer the technology to me for India, and then we had to do this entire business from India. So again, be aware, it's interesting to get into challenges, it is interesting to push yourself to the limit, and what I believe is in this curve, you know, this is what we were taught also at GE during that time, which we call as the S curve. And what is this S curve? This S curve basically talks about that when you start any operation today, any job today, there is an exponential or very fast learning in the beginning, like the S. You start learning very exponentially, but then after a period of time, it flattens out, the S flattens out. So you should know when you have stopped learning. You should know that I'm not learning, I'm not adding value to myself or the organization beyond a period of time. And if you know that, then you look for the next opportunity. And then you start the new S curve. You start the new S. You get into a new area, responsibility, job, whatever it might be. And it is not necessary to change jobs. Today we feel, you know, I get into a job, and I want to switch very fast. I want to get into the second job. I want to get into a third job. And this is because obviously for financial or some other reason you will run faster. Possible. But you have to be aware of the fact you can do the same thing in the same organization also. You can have the same S curve like I did. I was with the GE and that business for 17 years. And they allowed me to do everything in the same organization, from quality, Six Sigma, sales, everything. You can do that also in the same organization. The other aspect, which is very important, is when you shift very, very fast from one job to the other, your learning cycle is never complete. Today, when I'm there in a certain job, I'm working on something, I experiment something, like you are doing here today. There is some time which takes you to build an EV vehicle here, to make a drone today. If I learn something and jump to the next, my learning is not complete. I have experimented something and I don't know the effect of that something. I don't know whether it was right, it was wrong. How does it affect? And that is why it is important to spend some adequate amount of time, as per you, where you complete that learning cycle, where you have implemented something and you have now learnt from that experience. And then you move forward in the same organization, wherever, or different organizations, but Like you see, we have a S curve, and you can do it in the same organization or wherever, but you should be aware of the fact. Now, I'm taking you, so I took you through some discussion about a personal journey and how I look at it personally today. What makes a difference? How do you charter your course in an organization? And now I come on to the professional side. What do you do in an organization? In an organization, this is what we do today in WIKA. We have a mission statement, vision statement. We also have values. We make a strategy for this organization. We divide the strategy into objectives, activities. Then we assign people there in the organization those activities to do. So I'm going to show you that a personal journey and a professional journey is very similar. If you have clarity of thought and the way you look at a personal journey, what you did, the same thing you will do in an organization as well. I said on a personal front, you think of a higher purpose. What do you do in a professional space? You look at a mission of a company. You say, why do we exist as a company? So WIKA says we are to make superior instrumentation solutions for our customers. So you define the higher purpose for self and for the same you do for the company. I said on a personal front, attitude is the foundation. It is the foundation for what we do today. When you look at a company, the company defines values, which is the foundation of a company. Why does the company do that? So that everybody is aligned. Everybody is of the same behavior pattern so that it's easy. What is the value system of a company? So the same thing happens on a company front. I talked of, I have to be self-aware. I should know what am I doing today? How do I reach to the next level? And that's what I said was self-awareness. And when you look at companies, what do the companies do? They do SWOT analysis. So if you've heard, SWOT is nothing else but strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. Okay? So companies do exactly this. I look at it from a personal standpoint. Companies do it officially with seeing what is my strength in the company. How do I utilize my strength? How do I improve on my weakness? How do I use the opportunities? And that is what is interesting. So you see everywhere there is the journey is the same. If you understand the fundamental, what do? We are upgrading ourselves with exposure, with knowledge, with skills. And even in an organization, we do the same by attracting talent, by investing in that talent, by training the same people. So we do exactly the similar processes. So this is, when you look at a personal or a professional journey, it is exactly similar. If you understand the fundamentals don't change in life. They remain the same everywhere. You have to work on the same. If you realize it, it is just the same. It works like that. The only thing to understand here is, it is a step-by-step approach. Okay, so it is not, you can't do it overnight. It will take you time, and give yourself that much time to go step by step. The other aspect which we hear a lot today is the work-life balance, because you are either too much into your work scenario or too much into your personal, but both are so important because the one affects the other, and we all know that. And after a period of time, you will see it more than what we can visualize, because if you're not happy in your personal life, it affects your work. If you're not happy in your professional life, it will affect your personal life. So very important again, once you've understood this personal and professional journey of yours, you should learn how to balance it well. Once you're in work, we give 110% to the work. Once we are at home, we should try and disconnect, I would say, to the 100% if possible, to get out of what you did at the office. And that is a tough job to do. But again, very important, otherwise it affects you mentally, physically again. Finally, I want to leave you with one or two more things. And one of it is, it's an endless game. So what do? You talk of today, you reach a position and you now think of the next position. But then that is not good enough. Then you look at the next further position. So when I was looking after a 100 crore company, okay, I said, what next? I'm a CEO now. So then you say, okay, 500. Then you say 1,000. Then you say, why not 5,000? Why should I not do 10,000 crore company? So you have to realize it's like driving a car. When you're driving a car, it's very interesting. You have you see the 5 cars in front of you, and you race and you get in front of those 5 cars. And you feel very nice. You feel you have won from those 5 people who you left behind. And you're saying that they're fools because they don't know how to drive. They're very slow. They're wasting your time. And then when you're ahead of those 5 people, 5 cars, you see another 5 cars. And this never ends. Those 5 cars are still in front of you. You have to define your journey, and you have to be satisfied mentally with yourself of what you've achieved, where you are at that point in time. So do not get into this endless game, because this game never ends. And you have to be aware of this fact. Wherever you are, you should be in a happy space. You should feel accomplished by what you have achieved in that place at that point in time, and you should feel happy about the small wins, step by step, what you have achieved. Because that destination will never come, because you will again change the goalpost. From 500 you'll say 1,000, from 1,000 you'll say 5,000, and it never shifts, it never stops. So be aware of this fact. It is interesting, this game is interesting to play, but if you're not aware, you get so involved in this game that you are just racing all the time and you have no time for yourself. So be careful with this fact. And finally, we do a lot of strategy, we think a lot, we do a lot on a piece of paper, we sit in boardrooms, we discuss a lot. But one thing which is very, very critical is execution. You decide so many things in life, what you want to do yourself, you're not able to achieve it. I would always think I have a personal goal. Some of us, we made personal goals on how to be more fit. We would always not reach there. It is difficult with the time involvement we have at work or something else. So, how can we be disciplined in execution is the key word. You can all make so many New Year resolutions. You can make so many things. But the crux finally at the end of the day in an organization where you're working is, can you execute what you decided to? And that is the toughest part, which we call as disciplined execution, and that makes you effective or ineffective. So that is the final piece which I leave you with, and that's the story of why and where I am today. And I hope I could impart, if you got anything out of this, I will be happy if you can take it with you. And thanks a lot for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening and inspiring talk that broadened our technical and industrial perspective. If anyone wants to ask any question, you can ask.
So, of course, you are hearing a lot of management stuff from personal and from an engineer today here. So, I'm not talking of engineering here today. I did see a lot of good stuff when I went in your institute, where you see so much of practical stuff, what you're doing with different organizations. It was great to see what you're doing today, and it's nice to see the practical aspect. So congratulations to all of you for what you're doing here and achieving on that front. I know the subject is a bit difficult to absorb for some, but it'll be interesting if some of you can ask certain questions. Yes, please. Thank you.
Greetings, sir. I'm Amira Arfin from ELCA department. You mentioned about work-life balance. So there are two sides of the coin. Firstly, in Finland, the youngest Prime Minister, Sanna Marin, has advocated for a 4-day work week, and which is mostly like 6 to 8 hours working, right? Whereas in India, we see Mr. Narayan Murthy, he's advocating for 70 hours work week. So I want your opinions on what should be the ideal working hours, and not just for CEOs and vice presidents or presidents for the company, but for the employees and for the people who are in higher position, because the working hours should be different for both of these, right? So what are your opinions on that?
So see, my opinion is there is no one size shoe which fits all. If life was so easy, you could say 30 hours, 50 hours, 70 hours, and it fits everybody. It never happens. Like what you said, it depends on where you are in your journey and what is the demand of where you are today. So like I said, are you clear about what you want to achieve? Mr. Narayan Murthy had a passion, let's say, and he has a passion to achieve something as a higher purpose. He was not after money. He never thought when he started his journey he will make this empire, and does he spend it today? No. So it's not about that. It was his passion which was driving him that time, and that is what you have to understand. And with that passion, the hours never mattered. It was not a question of how many hours I'm spending today. He was not noting down the hours. It was his passion which was driving him, which is the higher purpose here. So it depends on you, your physical, your mental ability at that point in time, which allows you to do this activity. Today, if I'm passionate about a job, I don't feel it's a job. I can spend much more time and I can still balance, and I'm physically or mentally, if I'm fine, I can allow myself to do that today, because this is the requirement to take an organization which he started from X to Y. So I think it is very logical and good. And we all are sometimes in that space. When I was running that project, and I had a huge pressure on me to, as a youngster, to do this big successful project of shutting down a plant and do this. Hours never mattered. I had to make it successful, and it was very important in that point in time. And I have to decide for myself during that time what is okay or not okay to make it successful. Nobody would come and tell you, you have to do this. If you have enough intelligence, you will decide for yourself that time what will make you successful and what you need to do. So some activities do require, but like I said, it should not be the moment the passion, passion driving is different, but the moment it starts affecting your personal everything, and it is not, because like I said, the balance is so important, because if you are not personally happy, it will affect professionally and vice versa. So you make that judgment, you make that call. When you are doing this activity on a professional aspect, I hope and I presume you explain it to your family and personal side. Today, does Mrs. Murthy complained about his 70 hours of work? Is she, really complaining about it? So that's the big question to ask. Did he manage his personal side well, and is he happy even today? So who's complaining? Why are we complaining about his personal aspect when he managed it better than anybody sitting here? And he achieved professionally. So it is his decision. It is how he managed his personal space during that point in time. And later, probably he compensated more than what he did earlier, and he could still do a great job. So I would say, like I said, it's not about number of hours. It's not you put a figure there. We all decide for ourselves at that point in time. And that's why the debate will never end, because people will say you should put more or less hours. And it's not about the number of hours. If I'm able to give quality time, like I love the statement of the Amazon CEO, Jeff Bezos, when he says, the basic purpose of when I come in every day to the office is to make one good decision. I look at myself, did I come in today and make one good decision? And this stayed with me, which is very right. It is not about spending time in this and sitting in the office and doing some work which is of not value. If I am able to take a few good decisions today when I go into the office, which takes the company forward from where it was yesterday, I have done my job. So I don't, or none of us should look at time from that aspect. It is the requirement of what you are doing at that point in time which defines the time. The rest is, if you are doing your job well and a quality job, hours don't matter. I hope I've been able to answer to some extent. Thank you. Yeah, please. I would say good questions. You are making me think also. Very difficult.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
So my name is 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐢𝐠𝐲. Sir, after completing BTech, is MBA a better option or not? and how to adopt leadership.
How to adopt leadership?
Yes, sir.
Huh? You said that, correct? Okay.
And MBA is the better option after BTech.
So, you know, I did also after engineering straight away MBA, and again, there are a lot of people. The better option obviously would have been if I would have had some work experience and then gone for an MBA. It makes more sense. If you ask me personally, we did it during that time because people said, once you get into a job, will you be able to go for an MBA? And people think like this. If you have an option, it's always better because then you can apply your learning. You are in an organization, you see the organization, you have some experience in the organization, and then you take that learning back to the institute, and then you are more practically oriented. Otherwise, you'll go through a theoretical MBA. We have learnt what I'm saying today, or when I'm able to talk today like this, it's all because of our experience, what we gained, because of our attitude, because of what I showed here. Lesser because of what I learnt in the MBA Institute. I could have learnt much more. Had I the experience, I would take an actual situation which I saw in a working environment and think about how would I apply it there, which I could not do at that point in time. I had never worked in an organization. And management is all about people. I have never led people. I have never worked with people. And I go for management, okay. And it's very difficult then to visualize. So you learn concepts, but application of that is usually tough. So I would say, if you ask me personally, it's good to give a gap and do MBA. And MBA is a very effective, brilliant course. Gives you a very different perspective and exposure. So I love it, of course. I would love people to do that. However, people who want to be highly technical, go into research and development. A lot of people are today there who are individual scientists. Now, do they need MBA? Are they going to handle a very large team? Do they really need it is a big question. So if you are individualistic, if you're a great engineer, you're building something on your own, more like that, probably you don't even need it. You can go ahead in your engineering field. So you have a technical field always and a managerial field. In every organization, we look at it too differently. There's a technical growth path. You can become an expert technical, or you can become an expert manager. So both paths are available. Again, it's up to you what you want to decide. Second part, leadership. Yeah, so leadership is a very vast topic, very difficult to define what is, what is leadership, because there are lots of aspects of leadership. Something what I showed you here, you need to have certain traits of leadership, and everything can be inculcated. Everything can be learnt. None of us are born leaders. I can tell you for sure, when I was in school or college, I would never be standing on the stage, never. You guys today are more exposed. You are better speakers, you're confident, much more confident, you can come and speak. We were never on the stage to this extent. Today I can stand here and speak to you because of experience. Because what I showed you on the first chart, I have developed the skill. Over a period of time, I am standing here addressing people. I am developing the skill by talking and practicing it. So everything can be acquired. You have to practice, experiment, keep doing it again and again, and when you do it, you learn from that experience. So leadership is similar. You work at it. Of course, like I said, I have shown you some traits from my personal journey, how I think about it. And once you are clear about and mentally you're doing a good job, I think people accept you as a leader. And if you're fair, if you're giving enough space to people to, because as a leader, you don't have ever all the answers. I don't know. I have to take out the best solution and answers from the people. I will never be an expert at everything which happens in the organization. I have no clue. I cannot be a technical expert. I cannot be an HR expert. I am not the marketing expert. So the only trick of the trade there is to know people management, and to take out the best from people. And that's the only art you have to learn, how to facilitate, how to take out the best from people, how to motivate people. And that's the biggest strength which can take you forward. That's it.
The second question is that, sir, you have told that MBA is मतलब जब MBA करेंगे आप तो आपका टेक्निकल नॉलेज होगा वो बढ़ेगा। तो जैसे आप फॉर एग्जांपल दो स्टूडेंट हैं,
हाँ,
एक ने MTech किया है, एक ने MBA किया है, तो सर दोनों को टेक्निकल नॉलेज अच्छी है, तो सर जो कोई भी कंपनी आएगी वो किसको प्रायोरिटी देगी, हाई मतलब सिलेक्शन रेट पे किसको करेगी, MTech को करेगी या फिर MBA को करेगी?
सो अगेन, जैसे कोई टेक्निकल कंपनी आएगी जिसको आपके टेक्निकल स्किल्स में इंटरेस्ट है और आप एक टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट हैं किसी एक फील्ड में, ऑब्वियसली अगर वो क्राइटेरिया उनका है कि वो MTech ढूंढ रहे हैं, वो MTech ही लेके जाएंगे, MBA लेंगे नहीं, वो उनको उसका यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं है।
लेकिन मोस्ट ऑफ कंपनी ऐसी होती हैं जो मतलब दोनों को हायर करती हैं, MBA को भी हायर करती हैं और MTech को भी हायर करती हैं, और अगर उनके पास दोनों स्टूडेंट हैं तो किसको हाई प्रायोरिटी पे लेंगे कि मतलब MBA को लेंगे?
हाँ, तो मैं आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, वेरी स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल। मैं एक R&D टीम के लिए आज एक इंजीनियर ढूंढ रहा हूँ, मैं MBA क्यों लूँगा और मुझे क्या ज़रूरत है MBA लेने की आज?
सर अगर MBA का बच्चा लेंगे तो सर उसके पास मार्केटिंग की भी स्किल्स होंगी।
पर मैं एक टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट ढूंढ रहा हूँ जो मुझे R&D कराना है। सो मुझे वो जो स्किल आप MBA की बोल रहे हैं, हो सकता है बाद में जाके यूटिलाइज कर सकें आप, पर आज मुझे स्पेसिफिक तो हम जब किसी को ढूंढते हैं हम स्पेसिफिकली लिखते हैं कि भाई हमें एक MTech चाहिए या BE चाहिए या हमें इस जॉब के लिए एक प्रोफाइल चाहिए, and in some profiles and jobs some people are more suited than the others, so it cannot be, it's not general कि भाई हर जगह आप MBA को ले लेंगे because against MTech, which is not true.
Thank you sir.
Thank you. Thanks. Please.
As a final year student, starting from the mediocre company is good or starting from the top-notch MNC, as the people's experience is more important than starting from any type of company. So what's your opinion with this?
So it's true. If you get a great company or a good brand, now do all of us sitting here have that option? So it's not about having that option. If I have an option, I will obviously take a good brand or a good company. The reason is only one. In a big company or a good company, there are systems, processes, and you learn also to an extent large processes and of structured companies. They invest in you. They have the money in them to invest. I was in Eicher and we were trained and overtrained. I was in GE. I learned Six Sigma in, I think, 10 programs for months. We were trained like crazy. So in larger companies, the advantage is they can invest in you because they have structured training programs. So that is the way to look at it. If I don't have an option today to join something which is something at that scale, then obviously I don't have a choice. I go to wherever I get. In a smaller company, you have the advantage because you are doing everything. So the advantage in a smaller company is you get exposure faster. You will learn faster, that is true. But you will not get many structured inputs. Now we were very well trained in Eicher on a lot of other things, you know, even human aspects, behavior, management. We were engineers, but we were trained so well on those aspects. So I really regard and respect those companies who invest in people like this. So that is the difference. You can be in a, because none of us have a choice today and there's so much of competition, and I think all of you are going through a very tough situation always, and wishing you all the best and luck for getting a great job and opportunity, but it's not always the case. So you take it, and like I said, it's a step-by-step approach. Do not get disheartened. Nothing makes a difference in life if you start in a different company. We have so many people here in our organization who started where and went where. Now, to give you an example, any of us, you pick up any leader or anywhere, how many leaders have started from where? Now you have people who today use here Harvard dropouts, and Harvard dropouts are doing what? All the startups, big business. People like us today, when you say, am I from IIT? No, I'm not from IIT, an engineer. So now you say, am I from IIM Ahmedabad or IIM for management? No, I'm from IMT Ghaziabad, from a management institute that time. But I'm saying, now you say, so you might not be from the most premier institute, from the most premier this thing, or the best brand today, but it doesn't make a difference. If you have it in you, you'll reach there.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.